Well, hello there, and welcome to the recording of yet another episode of Search Marketing Scoop. This is a little different and novel episode, and perhaps a new beginning, because this is actually going to be the recording of episode 1 of season 2. Yeah, we are changing things up slightly here, so I'll give people a little bit of time to arrive and hopefully say hello. I know we've got some people arriving, watching us live already. If you're watching us live, then please say hi in the chat. Who are you? Where are you from? What's happening in your part of the world at the moment? Is it a wonderful day where you are? And is there a news story that is digital marketing related that has happened to catch your attention over the last few days that you think we should definitely chat about and have an opinion of during the show? Jim Morris, hello from Denmark. Great. It is lovely to have someone over from Denmark. I was in Copenhagen about a year ago. A lovely city indeed. Are you in Copenhagen? Are you in somewhere else? But it's certainly a lovely country over there in Scandinavia. So we've regularly got viewers from the States, obviously from Canada, from the UK, quite often from India and a few other places as well. Sometimes we've got more listeners, sometimes we've got less listeners, because we're also obviously publishing this episode as an audio podcast, and that's where we've got quite a few subscribers now. So if you search for Search Marketing Scoop in iTunes and your favorite Android podcatcher, you will be able to find us there, and that's where a lot of people happen to be catching us. Jim has said that he's in Jutland, 3 hours from Copenhagen, a US expat living here. Now, I wouldn't have known that necessarily, because most people in Denmark can speak incredible English, of course. Vanessa, hi everyone watching from Montreal. Trop bien, bienvenue. And hi from Cambridge, UK, Jean-Luc from Benazet Photography. Welcome. Yeah, Canada and Denmark. Can anyone raise us? Canada and Denmark. Any country? De rien, Vanessa. And Archon, is it from US? Currently in Ghana. That's an interesting country. I think that possibly wins the battle so far, if it is indeed a country battle that we're focusing on at the moment. So we've been on air just for a couple of minutes. I like to have a little chat with people just to begin with, just to say hi and make sure that everyone is watching live who intends to watch live. And then after that couple of minutes, we'll start the proper podcast recording, and that will be the bit that obviously goes to iTunes and all the various podcast places online. And you won't get any of that rambling, this initial rambling, of course, in the podcast. Maybe you like the rambling, I'm not sure. Anyway, I reckon that we should start the official show. So here we go. I'll press my magic intro music and get going with the proper intro. Facebook introduced story ads and add more choices for video ad buyers. More people are taking Facebook breaks. Plus, how can Facebook advertisers and other specialist channel digital marketers work more effectively together? Broadcasting live on the SEMrush YouTube channel, this is Marketing Scoop, the SEMrush show that brings together the top industry peeps to discuss the currently digital marketing headlines and delve into related actionable digital marketing advice. I am your host, David Bain. And those sharp-eared of you may have detected a slight difference in my introductory ramblings. That's because we decided actually to rename the show from Search Marketing Scoop to just plain old Marketing Scoop. Because there's a lot of digital marketing news out there that impacts search marketers, which isn't actually search news. And we've decided to branch out. And in future episodes, we'll cover things like other areas of paid marketing, content marketing, and looking at why certain digital campaigns were rip-roaring successes. But we'll still be starting out each episode with the latest related digital marketing news and how that impacts you. Andy Simpson says the rambling is the best bit. Well, thank you, Andy. Obviously reading the YouTube chat rather here as well. So on with meeting our guests for today's show. That is season 2, episode 1. First up, a man who's been a digital marketer since the last millennium. He's a contributor at Marketing Land, the founder of the Minnesota Search Engine Marketing Association, and CEO of WebRanking.com. Welcome to the Scoop, James Svoboda.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Hopefully I didn't butcher the surname too much there, James.
No, you did great. Thank you.
Next up, a relative industry newcomer, but someone bursting with drive and opinion. He is an account manager at Hanapin Marketing. Welcome, Elliot Kemp.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Thanks for having a surname that's easy to pronounce, Elliot.
Short and simple.
So let's stay with Elliot for this initial story. So Facebook introduced story ads, Elliot. What's this one all about?
Yeah, so story ads is something that we've seen in Instagram for a while now, but now us advertisers have it as an option just within your ad format as you're creating your campaigns. So I think the most important piece of this update for advertisers is really something that applies to most new advertising formats that appear, and it's just to understand that these ad formats require specific messaging and creative to be effective. So like all other new ad formats, you'll definitely want to be testing these and thinking about how the messaging you're inputting into this ad is going to appear to the user, how the different creative you're going to be using is going to appear for the user. So story ads are going to be a full screen on something like a mobile device. So you're going to need a specific type of creative where you might not be able to use just a regular static image that you've used in other ads. So just taking the time to think through what your ad is going to look like on the receiving end is really important for this one.
Got you. Okay, so a full mobile experience or a full paid mobile experience sounds pretty immersive, and obviously essential that you get the copy right. And I guess story being the key in there, you're not doing an ad, you're doing something that engages with people. Does that mean that a lot of businesses will have to actually change their content advertising strategy on Facebook because of this?
I think you need to just think through how it fits into your overall strategy. So just because this one ad format was launched, I don't think you need to rework your entire strategy and all your campaigns, but thinking how this kind of fits into the puzzle and putting some thought behind that, I think is the most important piece.
Got you. Okay, so it's about testing at the moment. No one knows for sure exactly how the medium's going to play out because it's very new, but you'd probably advise most businesses who are serious about Facebook advertising to give it a go because it could be an excellent way to engage people, or a more impactful way to engage people than other forms of advertising available at the moment on Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I'll add, and also it could be more difficult for something like smaller advertisers to get into just for the creative side, like I mentioned, depending on your resources internally. If you don't have someone internally to create content specifically for it, that might be the only roadblock I foresee. But yes, like you said, definitely test it and give it a shot.
And the other story that you highlighted, Elliot, was Facebook adds more choices for video ad buyers. So is this just a tweak or something more significant?
So there's actually a few updates within here that it's kind of a two-pronged update. The first one is what's called Facebook Through Play. And in my mind, this is the direct Facebook competitor, I guess you could say, to YouTube's TrueView ad format. So that was launched, I believe, earlier this year, but it's essentially the advertiser is not paying for the view up to a certain point. So in YouTube, that's 30 seconds. Now in this Facebook ad format that they just released, it's 15 seconds. So you're getting a free 15-second window where you're not paying for that view, which is just really interesting in itself. It's basically free viewing right there. So
that sounds a bit YouTube-ish to me.
Yes, very much. And you can see the shift with Facebook trying to become more like YouTube as opposed to short, quick videos with no audio. They're moving more towards YouTube type videos, which are much longer. Primarily, you want audio in for it and that sort of thing.
Great. Okay, for those of you listening to the audio podcast, we're getting a lot of great chat going here. Andy Simpson saying the rambling is the best bit. Simon Cox saying my money is on it being ice cream scoop come Brexit. And Simon's also saying my wine shelf behind me is getting impressive. Well, Simon, there's actually a bottle less than there was last week, so it's not as impressive as it used to be. But one other topic in relation to Facebook was what James suggested, or we were actually talking about a little bit before we went live, and that was more people were taking Facebook breaks. James, what's going on there?
Well, there was a study done and an article posted on September 5th about the study basically came up with 42% of people in the survey had taken a break of several weeks or more from Facebook in the last year. Which goes along with studies done on deletion rates of Facebook, which also of the app on your phone, which doesn't necessarily mean people haven't reinstalled the app, but Facebook's become a little bit different of a medium for a lot of people. Like my wife in particular is off Facebook as of this year. The Discord on a lot of political posts became too much for her. So she has focused her attention over on Instagram, where she's connected with my daughter and they share photos and things like that. So I think we're in a phase where Facebook usage it's changing for individuals, millennials in particular. And there was a big data breach just announced this last week. So Facebook trust is on the decline. App usage is down, breaks are getting longer, or platforms are shifting. I think this could be a fairly significant period in Facebook's time. As marketers, we have to pay attention to usage. But as users, they don't really pay attention. They just go what feels right to them. And I think it's going to be monumental moving forward and how this shakes out.
So you're saying your wife's moved off the platform because of content. Do you know if it was because of sponsored content, hyper-targeted content, or simply because of the organic content that was being surfaced that she didn't particularly like?
That's a good point. Organic content, first and foremost, but just as of this week, I've personally started seeing tons and tons of political ads as we ramp up for our November elections here in the United States. So the ads on the political side can be a bit burdensome to somebody who does not want to see any sort of political content if they're not very political. And I think that also the break has to do with just taking a break and getting a peace of mind for people that have been too far and dealt with too much of the political discourse over the last couple of years here in the U.S. So it's very interesting that if she was on Facebook this week, I'm sure we would have discussions about the political ads that she's seeing. Because as we all know, political ads mostly are highly negative because those tend to work the best, which just adds to the overall feeling of if you're already upset with the platform and the political nature of it, or that it's become, then adding more ads on top of that makes it harder for you to want to load up that app and use it on any sort of regular basis.
We've got Arcane saying in the chat, I moved away from Facebook for 3 years and went back for business. So obviously a lot of people perhaps feel they need to be on it to manage a business page, but don't have that wonderful positive feeling when they're actually forced to use the platform or use the platform for personal interaction, which is very interesting indeed. However, a lot of people, as we discussed earlier just before we went on air, James, was that people are moving away to another platform, but Instagram, which are also owned by Facebook as well. So do Facebook perhaps appreciate that there maybe is a finite lifespan for these social networks, and what they need to do is perhaps build or launch or buy brands that are on the up and perhaps even replace their audience or move their audience over to these new brands instead?
Oh, I think they do. And I think they hit the jackpot with Instagram just for that simple effect. Facebook had a study came out a few years ago that I saw, and the study was based on general ages of people and how it relates to their stage in life. And they saw that younger people were on Instagram at the time. And they started moving back to Facebook as they became adults and had children and started under their own careers, because then they started connecting with their parents more. So I think there's really something to be said for a platform can be something to you at that stage of life in particular, but it might not be, you might not be in that stage of life to appreciate that platform. So having Instagram helps balance out Facebook's offering. And we might even see other platforms come into play that Facebook may bring into the fold. The interesting story that Elliot was talking about earlier about the Instagram story ads being duplicated into Facebook, as advertisers, we love a consistent ad platform, an ad format that we can understand and use on multiple platforms, like the stories and the True video ads that we were just talking about. Having all of these similarities between platform helps us as marketers understand how to use that based on what we've already used on another platform. So one of the Instagram ideas for the stories ads is, if you're already running story ads on Instagram, the first transition would be to port those over to Facebook and run them there and see how your results vary there, and then iterate based off of that, rather than trying to learn a whole new ad format for you.
Got you. Okay, because one of the things that I wanted to touch on today was how can you be less siloed in your digital advertising approach. Hopefully it's going to be possible for digital advertisers to understand the benefits and user behavior from multiple platforms and not just focus on the one. And Elliot, I guess if Facebook are bringing in a video ad format that more mimics, if that's the right word, what is happening on YouTube, then is it the case that advertisers are now more able to use the same creative that they use on YouTube on Facebook?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think now both are good platforms to test these videos in and see, okay, so if we're using the same piece of content across both platforms, what are the variances there? Are people on YouTube able to have a higher completion rate on those videos? Is it lower on Facebook? So you can kind of create different videos of the same piece of content, even so different time lengths, and test them on each platform and kind of see, okay, so my Google audience is performing this way and my Facebook tends to be like the shorter videos more, and gain some insight that way.
In general, have you found that people prefer shorter ad videos on Facebook compared with YouTube, or is that too much of a generalization?
No, I think up until, so yeah, I definitely think Facebook is primarily better for shorter, more digestible videos. You also see a lot of videos on Facebook with subtitles built in the video itself. So, not actually being audio focused, but
because obviously people have the video play initially often on mute anyway on Facebook.
Correct. Yeah. And then I think, to my point earlier, we're starting to see Facebook turn into more of a longer form video platform with this update for the through view for Facebook, because it's encouraging advertisers to, okay, let's get the user in front of this content for a longer time span, and it's easier to scale and be more efficient when you're only paying for users who are viewing past a certain point. So I think this update is in line with Facebook moving in that direction.
Okay, so if an advertiser was focusing on story type content to engage people for the first time, is it right to attempt to have some kind of direct call to action towards the end of that? Or is it better to just provide an immersive, interesting, engaging story and then have someone get warm fuzzies about your brand because of it and then retarget them with a more direct ad afterwards?
So I think it depends mostly on how your targeting falls and where in the funnel that user is going to lie that's seeing that video. So maybe if it's an awareness campaign that's very focused on just getting in front of users and not so much driving users to your site, just looking for a more overall awareness, you're going to have maybe not a call to action, or a very general call to action with less actual. You're not wanting the user to actually take an action on that video. You're more just wanting them to view it. Where you can also have video campaigns that are specifically target at users who are well aware of your brand and maybe have downloaded content in the past, and you're going to show that a very different message and have a different call to action, which is probably going to be download now, schedule an appointment, something like that, that has a more actionable call to action to it.
A more actionable call to action. Yeah, absolutely. James, have you got any thoughts on how Facebook fits in general to the user journey? Are we talking about Facebook being omnipresent, and whatever stage the user happens to be on, then they may be on Facebook at some point? Or is Facebook advertising more to a certain stage within an average user journey?
Well, I think Elliot really said it when it's kind of depends on where in the funnel. One of the great things about Facebook is it's not just a single ad platform. Like AdWords was search for so long, and then it was banner display, and then YouTube came on. Facebook right now is promoted posts, basically content promotion, videos, as well as lead generation and banner ads. So it's kind of a mix of everything. So you have as an advertiser, you have so many options there to fit within the campaign and whatever you're trying to promote. And if you think of Facebook mobile usage being so huge and so many impressions coming from mobile, we've seen historically that banner ads for mobile don't work. You get a lot of extra clicks there that people didn't want. They don't provide enough detail in a small little ad to really inform somebody to download your white paper or buy from you. So content promotion, articles, blog posts, and now videos really kind of fit into, I think, everything that Facebook has to offer. And the differences between Facebook and say like an ad platform like Google is basically viewership and retention. So when people are deleting and taking breaks from Facebook, we have to be concerned of that as marketers, because that's a channel that we have a large percentage of our impressions coming from. That could be some shakeup there that could lead to some serious campaigns dropping off.
Should the average advertiser use the Facebook pixel natively and actually just have that on their website, or is it better generally to use a third-party tool which will give them, I guess, the option of advertising on many other websites and targeting the same users doing that? I'm thinking that I've used a tool called Perfect Audience in the past, which will let you do that, but obviously they will take a commission on top of what you would pay by using Facebook directly.
Elliot, did you want to?
Oh, was that for me? Yeah. So primarily we do use the Facebook pixel, and we don't. I personally don't work with any third party, retargeting platforms or that sort of thing. Or I think there's enough capabilities within the Facebook pixel that you can do a lot of really interesting things. Like you said, there's no extra fee along with it. And I see a lot of accounts not even using just kind of general retargeting techniques within just the Facebook pixel. So I think fully utilizing that is the first step and the important step.
Okay, great.
And I agree. A lot of whether we're going to determine whether we're going to expand depends on the budget we have. You're going to pay a premium for the other audiences like perfect audience, but your reach is going to increase. And for us, it's a matter of, do we have more budget? Do we need more reach beyond what's currently being provided by the Facebook pixel and that network?
Okay. And in general, I know, James, you do a lot of work with different traffic sources, so you do some search marketing as well. In general, are you starting clients off on their paid advertising journey on Facebook, or is paid search still the place to start?
We're a search marketing agency first and foremost. All of our clients are SEO or PPC to start with. So for us, Facebook and social promotions through other networks come through content promotion efforts primarily, and some lead generation. So for us, we start with search first. But a company like Hanapin probably has a significant portion of clients because you're primarily a paid media company that come to you for Facebook first. So we're one side of the coin, and I think Hanapin is a different side of mostly paid, if I'm correct on that.
So Elliot, that means that you'd, as an agency, be more likely to focus on paid social to begin with?
So actually, until maybe the last 2 years or so, and even still, the bulk of our revenue comes through paid search management. So at the end of the day, yeah, the bulk of what we're doing is paid search. But over the last couple of years, we've definitely seen a larger shift. Clients moving more budget into social, asking us about our social capabilities. I think a lot of our discussions earlier talk about integrating channels and the importance of that in this day and age. So again, that comes up in discussions where, okay, does our display advertising over here with Criteo need to be in line with what we're doing on Google? You know, those are the conversations that we're having more of these days, integrating channels.
William Rock saying in the chat that he uses Genius Monkey for retargeting other than Google AdWords and Facebook or Google Ads. William, he's asking the question as well. Has anyone used QuantCast for remarketing? Have you come across that, Elliot?
Yeah, I've had a very small amount of experience with QuantCast. I think it's similar to, I've done quite a bit with Criteo, but I think all those platforms are generally very similar. They're just third-party retargeting platforms. QuantCast specifically, I've used for some lead gen clients that are more focused on brand safety and that sort of thing. Now, I know other retargeting platforms have brand safety measures, but that one specifically is I know has some brand safety capabilities within it.
Got you. So just kind of to bring this part of the discussion to a conclusion, I'd just like to get your thoughts on Facebook advertising executives or whatever job role works within social media and paid search marketing executives. Should someone who is a specialist be looking to broaden their skill set and become an expert or as knowledgeable as possible in as many different digital channels? Or is it still a good idea to be a specialist in the future and just be hyper experienced and knowledgeable about one particular traffic source? Maybe James first. What are your thoughts on that one?
My thoughts are kind of twofold. One, you're as a marketer, you have a long journey ahead of you to get from your first internship, if you would, up to some sort of management level, and that career path that I've seen through like search. MnSearch, we see tons of people that come in, they're in their first 5 years of their career. They're trying to get good at search before they move on to something else. So as you move along in your career path, understanding how other ad platforms and other marketing means just makes you a more well-rounded marketer in particular. Me,
so
myself,
the classic T-shaped marketer the way to try and go?
That's yes, but you really have to get good at what you're going to focus in on before you can really start to understand how the other channels will interact with you. So for us, we're a search marketing agency, so we have to understand how organic works and how paid works, how they can work together, and how we can get the most out of them. And then we can, once we've got that, we can move on to Facebook and helping our existing clients with that. If you're on the paid side, like Hanapin, for instance, is mostly on the paid side, they don't necessarily probably, I don't necessarily need to speak for you guys, but you need to get good at Google Ads and Facebook, these other ad platforms, because you're servicing your client. So every marketer is a little bit different, but you can see career paths and specialists come in on the paid side with multiple platforms, or on search side and then doing organic and paid, for instance. And it's the 10,000 hour rule. If you take the 10,000 hour rule to really understand something and get good at it, that's basically 5 working years to get good at something. And I think 3 to 5 years is a pretty good time frame to get really good at paid, for instance, before having to worry about trying to get great at the other avenues like content promotion, or even diving deep into analytics.
The thing is, I mean, when I was really getting started in digital marketing, maybe 10 to 15 years ago, it was possible to be an expert in many different areas because it wasn't necessary to know so much to be an expert then, but also I guess you didn't have to know that much to be an expert because the platforms were a little bit simpler as well. Obviously, it was simpler to do SEO, it was simpler to master Google AdWords back then as well, and it just seems that there is so much going on in the platforms now. It would be very, very difficult to be an absolute expert in multiple platforms. Elliot, what are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with that?
Yeah. So I do agree to a certain extent. Now, I have the interesting viewpoint in our group here of just starting within the last few years in the industry. And I've seen tremendous value in, when I first started, I was extremely focused on search and I wanted to spend all my time on search, really learn it. There's so many nuances to understand. Like you said, it takes up to 3 to 5 years to fully understand the platform. But I've really seen tremendous value or the tremendous value I can bring by just learning a tiny bit about other things that I interact with. So we have a social team, for example, here at Hanapin, where I can focus a lot on paid search efforts and then utilize our social team for insights there. But it can help so much just having a baseline understanding of that platform, even if I'm not working in it as my primary platform. Just understanding how it works at a high level can help me work better with teams who are rooted in social and just kind of help the collaboration there. So I've tried to take a middle ground approach where I am trying to learn everything. I know I'm not going to know everything about every platform. I try to learn as much as I can about a single one and then fill in the gaps with the other ones.
Got you. It's hard to move away from the tea. Just to let audio listeners know, we're trying to reach out to people in the chat here and just ask people, what do you prefer in terms of the live broadcast of this show? Is it valuable to also live broadcast this show? Are you quite happy to just have the show as a podcast? Or maybe do you prefer a different medium for the live broadcast? Do you prefer us live broadcasting on Twitter or on Facebook, or is YouTube absolutely fine? Is the way that we're doing it the way that works best for this particular show? So any opinions that you have on that would be appreciated. But that just about takes us to the end of episode 1 of season 2. Just time for an actionable tip from each of our guests related to or not necessarily related to what we've been discussing so far. So let's go back to James first. James, what is your actionable tip?
My actual tip is using Google Ads and Bing Ads for content promotion through paid search. We find that more and more of our organic clients are creating supplemental content that appeals to their audience, not just for search. And a lot of this content has searchers out there that are looking for it, that we can use, for instance, like dynamic search ads to build a quick campaign for a blog post. And then through that quick dynamic search ads campaign, do query mining for keywords that Google thinks are related to that we're generating traffic on, and then build a formal keyword targeted search campaign for that. And then we can track KPIs on both of these campaigns, newsletter subscribers and things like that for blog posts, and get more out of their content, which then helps identify subtopics. One of the great things I love about search query reports is you get the raw query data that people are typing for and clicking on your ads. So a lot of these, if it's a dynamic search ad campaign, Google understands the synonyms that they're trying to rank your content for. So you get that, which has historically been not provided data in the last few years. You get that and then can take that query data and modify your content for queries that people are searching for.
Love it. Very, very specific there. So just to clarify, are you talking about bidding fairly broad in terms of keywords, but overlaying that with your own custom audience so that your own audience are likely to see your ads on Google Ads and then click through and just consume your content as a result from the ad?
Yeah, we go general, pretty broad for our dynamic search ads. Very few negatives right away, and see what queries come in based off of that, and then add negatives or build out new keyword targeted specific keywords that we select based on the query volume that we see coming in. And with 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 keyword data being a little obscure these days, Google's keyword planner is directional and incomplete. But raw query data where that you've paid for through your dynamic search ads or other ads can really help you understand the search trends and search patterns around keywords related to the content that you're promoting. And that can be highly enlightening, especially for taking that keyword data, finding out subtopics that related to the post or the article that might not have originally surfaced when the content research was done, but now you see that people are searching for it in a certain way, and then you can re-optimize that content and add more to it to appeal both organically and people that are clicking on the ads.
Great tip, and it's tempting for me to keep on delving into that and get it as actionable as possible. But you've shared so much there, and really value that. So thank you, James. You can find James over at the codomain WebRanking.com. So Elliot, now what is your actionable tip?
So I'm going to go the Facebook route with my tip, and my big tip, and something that I've been really learning a lot about recently is what's called lookalike audiences. So I encourage everyone in here to explore lookalike audiences. There's tons of webinars and resources online, and so much to do with them. And in light of our conversation earlier, you can have lookalikes that touch all parts of the funnel. So Facebook, you can build a full funnel even just within Facebook. So if you're thinking about starting in Facebook, if you haven't done any Facebook advertising, go look into lookalikes and figure out maybe how to utilize specifically your first party data is a great one that I've been utilizing recently, where you make a lookalike off of your top consumers, for example. And we've seen tremendous value in, like I said, all parts of the funnel utilizing lookalikes. So that's my tip for you.
Superb. And you can find Elliot over at hanapinmarketing.com. I've been your host, David Bain. You can also find me over at digitalmarketingradio.com. We will be recording the next episode, season 2, episode 2, on The Scoop at the same time, same place, the Semrush YouTube channel. That's the plan at the moment anyway, on Wednesday the 10th of October in 1 week's time, when my guests are scheduled to be Johnny Ross from Fleek Marketing and Arsen Rabinovich from Top Hat Rank. In the meantime, thanks not only to James and Elliot for this episode, but also to you for tuning in. If you liked what you heard, subscribe to the audio podcast if you're not already. So head over to searchmarketingscoop.com and find the link there to your preferred Apple or Android flavor of podcatcher. And if you're already a Marketing Scoop audio podcast subscriber, tell us what you think. A rating and review inside your podcast app would be very much appreciated. But until next time, be fantabulous and do one thing that scares you. Adios.